This is going to be part 1 of a painting, and I will follow it up with an episode 2. But we're going to block something in, and I also want to explain that I am painting while a little sad, and there's a little intro to that. Let's get started. Joe Mackenzie here. I took a little bit of time off of painting because I wasn't feeling very well, and because my rough collie, Fig Newton, died. So that took a lot of wind out of my sails, and I don't know if you're like me, but when you're kind of emotionally not there, I can't paint. It's just impossible. So today was the first day that I've sort of felt like I could begin to paint again. So this is a demonstration of a paper that is 12 by 12. I'm using a large brush. It's 1 inch wide at the bottom, and I'm only going to go partway through it. I would say this is probably halfway through the painting. So it is, in a sense, blocking in, and I will describe how to do that. I've also provided the photo for you, which is going to come up in just 1 second if you want to try it yourself. So let's get started. This is a little bit punishing in a way because we have transparent glass and we also have glass that is sending out all these reflections. But my feeling at this time of year is I want shiny things and I want a challenge. And so that's what this represents. This is the photo we're going to work from. I've already put in a few test dabs, but of grays and some reds, just to get an idea, because I took some days off. You know, when you take some days off, you just really lose your momentum, or I do. And so I needed to just have the feel of the paint on the brush again. It's very strange how quickly if you have any, or feel like you have any skill at all, how quickly it just drops off, which is probably why musicians paint every single musicians, why they have to practice every single day, because you lose stuff when you're not working. So the first thing that I did was using some watered down Naples yellow. I'm putting in the places that I know I want to leave as white. Some people would use masking fluid for this, but I don't. So that's what I use instead. So I was also really thinking about this probably might not have been the best thing to come back to painting with, but but I decided I don't care. I want to paint what I want to paint. Excuse me. The next thing I did was find the most saturated places that I could, which were those orange places. That means the colors are bright and they're also quite thick. Now I'm going to get busy with some of those grays. This mug was in front of a windowsill, but when the windowsill goes through the mug, it changes the direction. So that's what I'm showing there with the gray, and putting some gray underneath those ornaments to anchor them. I'm not sure of anything right now. I'm just trying to get some value shapes established, and those value shapes tend to be in the mid-range. I do know where my lightest lights are going to be. That's going to be where I put that Naples yellow. I have no idea where my darkest darks are going to be yet. That needs to be determined. I'll figure that out later. So again, looking for shapes, and I mixed up some red on the side. And red is never coming directly from the tube. It's going to be probably a permanent rose, and alizarin crimson, and also a little bit of cadmium red as well. Oh, and also this color that I'm really in love with right now, which is quinacridone sienna from Daniel Smith. That mixes really nicely with the reds, especially if I'm trying to paint tea. It comes very close to the color of tea if you add some reds to it. But you have to add reds to it, otherwise it comes out quite, it can dull down some. Now I'm looking for some big shapes with a big brush. And for the first time in over a week, I feel a little bit like myself again. I always feel like myself if I'm painting, and it's hard to take days off, but if I can't concentrate, then there's absolutely no point in doing this at all. So I'm looking at the photograph and trying to figure out where are the lighter shapes, where are the darker shapes, and plugging those in. But everything, if you squint right now and look at almost everything is probably in a mid-range right now. Probably everything is about a value of a 3. There's some things that are a value of 1, some things that are a value of 2, but nothing, I don't think anything darker than a 3. So I'm definitely painting from my lights to my darks. I'm figuring out what's light and what's later on I'll figure out what's dark, because I found that lately to my eye, my tendency is to have my darks be darker than I want them to be. So I want to really sneak up on them. There's another refraction going through the glass there, the table, as it goes through the glass. I like this really big brush because I can use it almost to carve the shapes. That's what I'm trying to do, rather than putting it in the paint. You know, I just load it with paint and then look at the shape and execute the shape, and then load it with paint, look at the shape and execute the shape. That's what I'm after right now. Now, nothing's coming together right now, and so, you know, there's a tendency to think, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. But I thought, no, 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 you know what you're doing. Stick with the plan. You're painting from your lightest lights to your darkest darks. You know where your lights are. You put the Naples yellow in there. And everything else is basically a midtone, and you just have to decide, is it a grayish midtone or is it a midtone that has some color in it? And then beyond that, when you see a gray, try to decide if that gray has some of the red in it, meaning that it's going to be warmer, or does that gray have some blue in it, and so it's going to be cooler. So I'm trying to keep things way as simple as I can, because my brain isn't ready to be overwhelmed with too many decisions. Whereas before I finished and took this time off, I was feeling like I could tackle most everything. My brain feels really rusty right here. See, now there's a gray going in which has some blue in it, had some cerulean blue in it. So that's a cool gray. But I could see, I saw that in those places, so I decided to put it in. I only put in what I saw, and I left out anything that I couldn't see. And then as I get near the end, which is probably coming up pretty soon, I just decided that instead of really pushing forward and starting to make decisions that didn't meet with my plan, because there's a tendency to, you know, when you get fatigued, you have a tendency to kind of hurry things up. And I thought, no, don't do that. Take a couple days, you know, slow the whole brain process down and see where it gets you. So that's what I'm going to, that is a definite experiment for me, because I like to get things done in one sitting, but that's not going to happen this time. And that may not happen for some time. But I wanted to block everything in. And so far, my test dabs are lining up. I've got almost everything is in, probably the value range of, like I said, 3. Nothing's tipping over into 4 yet. Squinting really hard. Yeah, nothing's tipping. I'm still between the values of 1 and 3. As long as I stay blocking in the values of 1 and 3, then I have the option of coming back later and making things darker if I want to. And then ultimately, of course, identifying where my darkest darks are. But I'm not ready to do that today. I thought that is just taking too much brain power from me. So slow it down and see how far you get today, and then share that, and then I'll come back and finish it another time, because that just sounded like more fun to me. There we go. Man, I am just loving that big brush. I really recommend that you get a big brush. And this is, I really do like this inch-long brush, even though now I have an 1.25 inch brush as well. But that one is definitely harder for me to handle, and I thought, taking days off, this is not the time to handle that brush. So I will keep looking at the photograph, because it's good to study it while I'm away from painting, and then come back and paint the second half another time. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do. And remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paints wet, master value mix for color, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.